to AmityCast. I'm Ellis.
And I'm the other guy.
And he's the other guy. Not the other guys. Not that movie. We're not talking about that.
That movie's fucking amazing.
Is it?
I don't know. I saw it once in 2007, and I didn't hate it.
From what I remember, I didn't like it, but I haven't seen it in a while. I can't really be too critical. Yeah, we're back for this week. We were trying to figure out a topic. There's not much too relevant, but there was a trailer that just got released that's been pretty hype. People have been talking a lot about the new Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, so that was exciting, right, Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty hyped to see it. I watched it several times at this point. It's a good trailer. It's a typical Sony trailer, and it's edited terribly.
Yes.
And all of Doctor Strange's dialogue sounds really bad, and the Scooby-Doo joke was not funny. And
yeah, that's true.
But seeing all the villains was cool. And they're definitely teasing Toby and Andrew showing up, which is exciting because I think we all know at this point that that's what's going to happen in this movie, and that's going to be. I feel like that's going to be almost like an endgame moment in the theater when that's going to happen. And it's going to be pretty cool to see. And this trailer definitely gets us hyped up for that, I feel. I don't really know if I don't really think I need another trailer. I know Sony will probably pump out 3 more, but I think this is probably all we need.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I mean, it was a lot of hype, and it played a lot more into the multiverse idea and what we're actually going to see in the movie. And it's just kind of all stuff that I was kind of expecting. So it was nice to see a trailer. We got some confirmation on some stuff. Really, I'm just excited for the movie because hopefully it lives up to the hype, at least somewhat. It's got some really high expectations now going into it. So
Yeah, for sure. It was cool to see Willem Dafoe and Green Goblin show up because that wasn't in the first trailer. It's gonna be weird because we haven't seen him as that character since 2000s, early 2000, and yeah, it's just gonna be kind of weird seeing these characters again. Also, Jamie Foxx is playing Electro again, and I didn't think that was ever gonna happen, and I didn't really particularly want it to happen, but it looks much better.
Yeah, I really didn't want to see that, especially considering what the Amazing Spider-Man 2 was.
Yeah, which was bad.
But I mean, it's just cool to see callbacks to all of the cinematic Spider-Man experiences that we've had.
Yeah, I never thought this was gonna happen. At least initially, I didn't really want it to happen because I at least wanted Tom Holland's Spider-Man to have at least his own trilogy of films to set him up and his character and whatnot. But with how they've been presenting this so far, it doesn't feel like it's being purely nostalgia driven. It seems like there's going to be a pretty good, at least decent story behind it. So I'm excited for that. It's a pretty big plot, so apparently this movie's almost going to be 3 hours long, which makes sense, I guess. But yeah, I just hope it has a good. I hope it has a good story.
It might be good to let it breathe a little bit because it definitely seems like it would be a little too dense if they were doing a normal hour and a half to 2-hour runtime. It looks like they're gonna let it out a little bit more because it's definitely gonna be a jam-packed plot with a lot of elements to balance. So I'm definitely all for a longer runtime. I mean, I don't know, nearly 3 hours seems a little weird to me, but who knows? I guess it all just comes down to what actually happens with the movie when it gets released next month.
Yeah, well, also I don't. Just one question I have is after this, I mean, I'm assuming we're gonna get more, another Spider-Man trilogy. I'm assuming. How are they really gonna top this in the next Spider-Man movie? Because it definitely won't be able to do that. I know there's some rumors that at the end of this movie, there's gonna be a symbiote Venom like post-credit scene or something, and like the fourth Spider-Man movie is gonna be like Spider-Man versus Venom, which I am dearly hope that's not what it is, but it probably will be. Um, I don't know. I mean, if they could do the villains right in this one, they're like from different universes. Maybe they could do a good Venom in the MCU, at least for like one movie. But I really hope that doesn't happen. But also the Lizard's in this, which is like kind of cool, I guess. I mean, he hasn't really been around since like almost 10 years now, which the Amazing Spider-Man's almost 10 years old. Um,
That's kind of crazy.
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the Lizard was just kind of like a weird villain. I didn't really like either of the Amazing Spider-Man movies. They were both. I mean, the first one was like fine, I guess.
It's just it was such a unnecessary reboot, simply just because they didn't want to do Spider-Man 4 for some reason, which would have made more money because it would have been an established franchise with Tobey Maguire, who is still my favorite Spider-Man, which might be nostalgia driven, but I still feel like he was like the best like portrayal of the character with the best movies, at least the first two.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited to see them come back. I hope like the actual storyline for Tom Holland's Spider-Man's movie is good. I'm kind of curious on what Doctor Strange is going to be doing most of the film, because he almost seems like he's almost in like a little bit of an antagonist role, and I'm definitely interested in where it's going to lead, because it's definitely going to lead into the next movie, which is Doctor Strange, in the Multiverse of Madness. I also wonder if there's going to be Loki connections as well, because this deals with the multiverse, and the last project that really dealt with that was Loki. So, that would be interesting.
Yeah. That would be really. I don't really know.
I don't really need.
There's been a lot.
I don't really need
There's
Loki
been so
on
much
shows or
like
whatever.
media on.
What?
Yeah. There's just been so much media on this trailer, like so many things about this movie coming up, like talking to Tom Holland about it, and like everyone's just like I guess like Tom Holland has said like a lot of different things in so many different interviews, and now people are thinking that he isn't gonna want to play Spider-Man anymore after this movie, and like I don't know like what is actually happening with any of that, if Tom Holland's actually done after this movie, or like what's actually going on with the Spider-Man franchise.
There's no way. There's no way he's just gonna be done. I feel like he's just saying that.
Right, that's why I'm confused about like all these like reports that are coming out about it, and then like also with everything going on between the Spider-Man property and like between Sony and Disney and like all of that stuff. So it's a lot of weird like legal stuff going on around this movie.
I don't know
if
if
the movie's coming out.
I guess we can talk about it a little bit, but I guess there was like a Disney Plus day, and like they announced a bunch of Marvel shows.
Yeah.
And you did see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I think we're getting a Spider-Man like animated show, like about Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So
yeah.
I'm assuming that is kind of an indication that we're gonna have more moving forward, and there just hasn't been like an announcement, probably like after this movie, but we're gonna get like a show about Tom Holland's Spider-Man like before like Civil War and like his freshman year or whatever. So that will be kind of cool, but there were some other announcements too. Like there was like a She-Hulk like kind of trailer, and there was like a Moon Knight kind of trailer, which I'm really excited for Moon Knight.
Yeah, Moon Knight looks really cool. They were talking about a show called Echo.
Yeah. Which I guess
like a Hawkeye.
It's like rumored to have Kingpin and like Daredevil in it, and there was also
Agatha, House of Darkness.
Yeah, which is weird. I don't know what they're gonna do with that. And then there was something else. There was some other stuff. A Secret Invasion. And they announced they're bringing back the X-Men show from like the 90s. And which I don't know why. I mean, I know a lot of people were fans of that, but it kind of seems random. And there's a few other things I forgot. Well, there's Miss Marvel, which I don't really care for, but
What If Season 2?
Oh yeah, they announced a Marvel zombie show, like an animated show.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what that's gonna be. If it's gonna be like actually like an R-rated, like serious, like animated show on Disney Plus. I don't know. But
I I have no idea. And there's also been a lot of issues with this, like trying to put more mature stuff on Disney Plus. Like Disney's been dealing with all of that. There's been a lot of legal stuff going on in the film world, especially centered around Disney, and a lot with Spider-Man, which a lot of casual fans are extremely excited for No Way Home. Like it's a really big like MCU movie. Like this is a huge deal. Um, and there's just so much like centering around it, like in universe hype, in the actual world hype, just like
Yeah, well, I guess
it's not crazy how big of an event this really is.
there's so many rumors, but I know there's like one rumor which sounds like something Sony would do, is that after this movie they're gonna kind of, because if Toby and Andrew are in it, they're gonna kind of leave it open that, you know, there's still gonna be Tom Holland like MCU Spider-Man, but they could potentially like go back and make like Spider-Man 4 and like Amazing Spider-Man 3, which I don't know how that would work,
Yeah,
but I feel like Sony would do
I'd be
that.
interested. If Sam Raimi's involved, I'd be interested to see Spider-Man 4 for sure.
Yeah, I'd only really want Spider-Man 4 if Sam Raimi was directing it. And I'd only really want Amazing Spider-Man 3 if the director of the first of those two movies came back and actually like didn't have Sony like mess up those movies as bad as they did.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. It would feel weird to have those movies come out because both got canceled like years ago, and to just
Yeah, and they're also trying to continue with a franchise off of Into the Spider-Verse. Like,
Yeah, I remember
they
Tom
were
Holland
sequels.
Tom Holland recently said he's like, I don't know, maybe they should bring Miles in now, and I was like, well, that makes no sense because we've only had 3 Spider-Man movies and like you're still like in high school. Uh, Miles comes like way down the road. At least from what I'm aware of. Because
Right.
I still haven't like personally watched Into the Spider-Verse, which is like really bad. But I don't know.
You haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse?
I've like seen like parts of it, but like I haven't like watched the whole thing.
Dude, you gotta watch that movie. That is an absolute
I don't know
masterpiece.
if I don't know if it's still on Netflix or not, but like I didn't have any like buddy that wanted to see it with me, like when it came out, because like it was just like an animated movie. I don't remember anybody like wanting to see it.
Well, we definitely should have gone. That would have been cool. That was
Yeah,
3 years ago now, which is crazy, but
I don't remember if we were close then, but like that close, but
I knew you. It would have been fun.
that was like the year of Infinity War where I didn't invite you because we weren't
Wasn't
close.
that Endgame?
Oh, 2018 was Infinity War. Oh, that was again.
Yeah.
That was Endgame. Yeah. I did have a Infinity War also birthday party where afterwards we went to Board and Arrows and just discussed the film for like an hour.
Right. That would have been amazing to go to. But like, we really.
I don't think I
saw
knew you
it,
that
so-
year. I think Sean might have been there. I don't remember. That was back when like Gabe was still around. So, actually, I think Jordan was there.
Really?
I think Jordan was there. I think that was the last party he ever went to. But faux show.
That's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, you definitely gotta. I mean, Into the Spider-Verse is like the best Spider-Man property ever released.
Yeah, because then
honestly.
we
Like,
have
it doesn't have-
that's also coming out next year, isn't it? There's a sequel to that coming out.
Yeah, Across the. I guess is what it might be called. I don't really know. What?
It's kind of a weird title. It's just like changing one word, but if it makes sense, it makes sense. But yeah,
Which is really exciting. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on. Like Spider-Man wise, there's just.
I hope it doesn't come
It's
too
just
much.
kind of. It seems a little too hectic to me. I don't know like what like the full plan is, but
Well, yeah, just like I remember last year, just I thought Spider-Man 3 was just gonna be like Spider-Man 3, and then like there was like, oh yeah, Alfred Molina's coming back as Doc Ock, Jamie Foxx coming back as Electro, Willem Dafoe is back as Green Goblin. It's just like these characters have been gone for so long. It feels weird to have them back, and it's nice to see. I mean, I love seeing like Doc Ock back because he was a great villain in Spider-Man 2, and he's so far been really great in these trailers. So is Willem Dafoe. I mean, it's good to give some of these other like villains like another shot, like the Amazing Spider-Man villains are bringing back. Also, Sandman's back, which is kind of weird because in the Raimi movies he was like more of a good guy. So I don't know. That's the story is still a little confusing for me about these villains and like their motivation and whatnot. And
yeah, that needs to be cleared up. Which obviously they might wait to unveil a lot of that until the movie comes out. Maybe they'll come out with more trailers that could spoil some stuff.
yeah, because
I don't
also
know.
at the end of Spider-Man 2, Doc Ock was a good guy. Like he sacrificed himself, so it's like, well, why is he a villain again? At least from what it appears like. So there's just
Right.
a lot of things that are like ambiguous right now, and it feels weird to like see these trailers because it's just like you're seeing like Tom Holland Spider-Man interact with a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man villain from like almost 20 years ago. And it's weird, um, but it has me interested, and if like they successfully like craft a story, then also have like Toby and Andrew in there and like in a pretty tasteful and like cool way. This is gonna be a pretty good film. Pretty great, pretty good way to end the year for Marvel. Um, I remember
Yeah, for sure.
people thought Venom was gonna be this movie because of the Venom 2 like post credit scene. I'm glad he's not because that would have been too much. Um,
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be able to deal with that, like, personally.
yeah, I have we've already talked about how terrible of an introduction Venom has had, not only in his own movies but in the MCU. I guess I don't know. Um, Also Morbius, which is also a Spider-Man property, that's also coming out in like the next month. I don't know how that's
Oh,
gonna.
that soon?
It's in January, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think it
Like,
might come out
wow.
the I think it might come out the same weekend as Scream, which I will be seeing Scream. But
I would rather see Scream, yeah.
even if it's like the worse than Scream 3, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be possible, but I mean, you never know. We'll see.
Yeah, but yeah, we're both very excited for this film. I mean, I'll be in town for this movie, so I mean, I'm assuming we'll probably all get together and see it. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. That'd be definitely be a lot of fun.
And also, like, I brought up to Allie there was like a new trailer out, and she was like confused. She was like, "Why would there be another trailer?" And I was like, "Movies just kind of release like multiple trailers sometimes." And she was like, "That's dumb. That's just spoiling the movie." And I was like, "This has been like a common practice for the last like 4 years."
Yeah, what is she talking about? Trailer? Like, there are multiple trailers for pretty much every movie. Like, almost. Like, what?
Then again, I think I mentioned there might have been like a second Scream trailer or like like a featurette thing, and Trina was like, "Why would they do that?" And I was like, "What do you mean? It's marketing."
They
Um,
really, I don't like really understand, like, the finer points of film that well, but, you know.
yeah, it's just yeah, this movie's pretty exciting. I don't really have much more to say on it. Just I hope it's pretty good. This trailer wasn't like amazing. It was definitely good, but like it was a little bit overhyped. People have a lot of expectations for this movie, so I just hope
Yeah.
people aren't like really disappointed when they see it, and it's not like everything they want it to be. Um, but
Yeah, that's true. I'm trying, I mean, it's just like, as long as they
I'm
can
not as
deliver,
hyped
like,
as
even
some people
here in
are.
Comic.
Like I'm not super duper hyped. Not nearly as hyped as I was for like say Halloween Kills or even I don't know Dune to a
Right.
certain extent. I mean, I was more hyped to see Dune before I saw it than I am for this movie right now, and I'm just kind of hope they execute everything right because it's just there's a lot that they can mess up. So I'm not gonna get super duper hyped until I actually like see this movie. And I mean, I'll probably like it no matter what, just based on nostalgia, especially if Tope and Andrew are in it, which I think it's pretty much obvious. And I guess I'll at least be cool for that. I just hope it's also a good movie. And this also has to be a
Yeah, I mean,
follow up. This also
as
has
long
to
as
be
it's
like a good
different,
follow
I'll
up.
live with it.
Yeah, this also has to be a good follow up to Far From Home, and like actually like deal with the repercussions of that. So I hope that's
Yeah, there's
also well
literally
done.
so much. There's so much lying on this movie, and just so much like going on with it. It's like it's just wow.
Yeah, also like the final act is at like the Statue of Liberty for some reason. Um, but yeah.
Yeah,
Also, they have that scene at the end where like MJ's falling, and it's like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 scene, and like it was just kind of weird because like I don't know, is it supposed to give me like nostalgia? Because that was like a depressing scene, and and then I guess there's some
yeah,
theories that like that's when Andrew's gonna come back because like he's gonna save her and be like, oh, he saved the girl this time. And it's like I don't know, maybe that could be cool. We'll see. I'm not super hyped for that, but yeah, that's
yeah.
probably.
I don't really care about Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man at all, just because of what those previous two films were. So like,
I just think it would be
I don't.
cool to see all three of them together. I'm. It's not like I really care for that version of the character that much. Not only because the movies weren't amazing, but he also just didn't. He only had two movies. He didn't even have a full like arc. The second film literally ended
Right.
on him fighting the Rhino, and that was it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I like Tobey Maguire one because obviously nostalgia, and he at least had a storyline and like had two actual good films like made by a competent director. Um, and even the third movie, which is a mess, I still enjoy it because it's fun. It's still a Sam Raimi movie. But yeah, the Andrew one, I'm not as attached to really. I definitely have some
Yeah.
nostalgia. I definitely have some nostalgia seeing those movies, but I was like, I don't remember how old I was when. How old was I in like 2014? I don't even. I know I definitely saw Amazing Spider-Man in theaters, but I don't think I saw Amazing Spider-Man 2 in theaters because I just didn't care, and I was like the target demographic of like 12 years old. Um,
Yeah, I definitely saw that. That's the same for me. I saw the Amazing Spider-Man in theater. I remember that really well, but I didn't see the Amazing Spider-Man 2 until later on. I saw it on home media with like my family, like around Christmas or something.
yeah, I think it was because Godzilla came out around that time, and I was more focused on that. But
Yeah, I was much more excited for Godzilla than I was Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like it wasn't even close.
yeah, my parents were excited for Amazing Spider-Man 2 more, and they didn't even see it, which is so dumb. But yeah, um, oh yeah, there was something I was gonna tell you. Like this is like a quick side tangent, but this is about the Dark Knight, which I think we can both agree is like one of our like most favorite superhero movies like ever. Um,
Yeah, I think it's the greatest comic book movie ever made, honestly.
probably, definitely, probably a 10 out of 10. But I remember my parents, at least my stepdad. He at one point brought up like the Dark Knight to me, and he's like, I honestly like the only good part about the Dark Knight is the Joker. Like if you take the Joker out of the movie, it's just not a good movie at all. And then like I saw the movie later on, and I was like, what are you talking about? This is still like
Like
a this is still like an
almost
almost
every.
this is like a perfect movie.
Yeah, like for what you want from a Batman film, pretty much every aspect is executed perfectly.
And I was like,
And like the Joker just
if you
goes and
take the
elevates it. Because, yeah, but
it's the Batman and Joker dynamic in that movie. So it was so weird that he said that because he's like, I just don't really like Bale as Batman. He's like, my Batman's Michael Keaton, and I'm like, no, no, I'd rather you say Ben Affleck is your Batman than Michael Keaton. Um, I don't get why people love Michael Keaton as Batman so much. I'm gonna be honest; those two movies are fine. Jack Nicholson was very fun as the Joker, but those movies were not it.
yeah, I mean, I personally enjoy Batman Returns, and like they're both like fine, but Michael Keaton wasn't like amazing as Batman, not in my opinion, not like from my experience.
Well,
I
like
think
as
Christian Bale was much better.
I
At least in the Dark Knight. In Batman Begins, he was like solid, and Dark Knight Rises, I don't think is very good. Like it's fine, but the Dark Knight, pretty much everything that I would want from that movie is absolutely perfectly done. I think, and like I think like Heath Ledger as the Joker is such an amazing performance, and it's such a well like written character, and it really elevates the movie to that next step of being like what is probably the perfect comic book movie. But every other part of it is still really impressive in my opinion. I think The Dark Knight is just absolutely fantastic.
yeah, absolutely. Um, Pretty much love every single part of that movie. What to
Yeah,
have
I watch it every year. Just like I used to watch it religiously when I was younger. It's definitely
religiously?
in my top 10. It's like right around my top five favorite films ever made. Like it's that good.
Yeah. I didn't see those movies until later on. Um, it was around when BVS was coming out because I like wanted to like make sure I saw like every single Superman like Batman movie before it. Um, and I haven't watched the trilogy in a while. Um, but I absolutely loved watching them, and I kind of want to rewatch all three of them again just because it's been a while. But yeah, we'll see about that. It's a lot of time there.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of how it is for me. The Dark Knight has always been one of my favorite movies, and honestly, it's probably a big reason as to why Batman is like one of my favorite superheroes. Like Batman's kind of like a cliche superhero to like be your favorite, just because it's one of like the three like most popular ever. Um, But that movie always made me I just love that story so much. And I love everything about it. That's why Christopher Nolan was my favorite director for a while, which not everything Christopher Nolan does I really love anymore now that I'm actually looking at it, but like stuff like Memento I really like, and obviously The Dark Knight is incredible. And I really respect his style as a director, so like he's done some really good stuff.
Yeah, he has for sure. My computer's being weird. I'm trying to load this picture, but it's being stupid. But yeah, Dark Knight is amazing. I was gonna say.
I mean, we could.
Uh,
Did you have a thought that you lost?
Yeah. So, speaking of dedicated roles, do you want to move on to The Shining?
Yeah, we can probably talk about The Shining. That could take up. I mean, it depends on how much time we take it, because I could talk about The Shining for hours and hours on end. So.
Yeah, I could too. I guess there's not really any reason we're talking about it right now. It's just kind of like a movie to talk about. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, getting out of the way, The Shining is one of the most respected, biggest horror movies ever made. It's one of the most dissected, talked about, influential, impactful. It's a huge deal. There's endless amounts of commentary out there on The Shining, endless amounts of theories about what happened within this film. I think most people know it's based off of Stephen King's novel. It was Stephen King's third novel that he wrote based on an experience he had staying at a hotel. And it's about the Overlook Hotel, obviously. The book and film are like, they have a lot of big differences. So like they're both like, I think the book is also a masterpiece. And there's a lot. They're very distinct. I kind of just see them as like their own things, because they are that different. I prefer the film just because like I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made. It's in my top 3 favorite films ever. I absolutely adore The Shining. It's a movie that I will praise and defend until I die, because I adore everything about The Shining. There's so many things to talk about.
Yeah. My first experience with the movie, I think, from what I remember, it was with my parents. They introduced it to me, and they obviously praised it. This is one of the few movies where I feel like they actually have good opinions on. I don't know anybody that really hates this movie. And I get really annoyed when people say it's not good. I remember it's the same thing with Jaws. I don't know what it is with older movies, but I've met multiple people that have just kind of been like, it's just boring. It's not scary enough. Because I remember like in 7th grade, somebody was just like, yeah, Jaws is just, it's not boring. Just the acting's bad. And then like Jasmine was like, The Shining's just not scary. It's just not that good. And it's just like, I hate you. This is like The Dark Knight, pretty much a 10 out of 10 for me, and I think that's objective. It's really hard to pick. It's really hard to pick something bad. Like it's really hard to pick something bad out of this movie. You really had to reach. It's really perfect, and that's of course because the director himself Stanley Kubrick was like dedicated to like. I haven't seen like much of his other work, but I know he like really strived to make sure like every single like frame and like scene in this film was like perfect and like planned out and like intentional. So
yeah, Stanley Kubrick himself, there's a lot to talk about. He's one of my favorites. One of the most influential filmmakers ever, regarded as one of the greatest for a reason, because he was so committed. Every film that he made,
up until he died.
His filmography is as diverse as it gets from any director. If you look at like every film that he's made, he's covered everything from The Shining was his only true horror film that he made. Nothing else. None of his other movies can be like solely classified as like a purely horror film. But there's so like from like A Clockwork Orange, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Barry Lyndon, Eyes Wide Shut, like a lot of romance, drama, sci-fi, everything. He covered it all, and he was a very particular director. I mean, specifically with The Shining, there were like a lot of scenes and moments that like that they shot over 100 times, and he would keep doing it over and over.
Yeah,
and over, and then spend a week on one.
The famous "Here's Johnny" scene. I think they filmed that like over 100 times, didn't they?
Yeah, they filmed it.
Because Jack
Nichols.
Nicholson.
It was over 100 times.
Because I
took
think
3 days. That like 2-minute scene.
Yeah, just from what I haven't watched like a ton of documentaries on it, but just not even just how dedicated like the director was, but like the actors as well. Because Jack Nicholson like on set was like making himself go insane for the role. Because I remember he said he would get into the mood because he would force himself to eat like a meal he hates like every single day they were shooting. So like he would go like mentally insane, and of course there's a famous thing where Stanley Kubrick like basically like harassed Shelley Duvall on set, which is bad. I don't condone that, but you can like the performances are really like genuine in this movie. Everybody was going insane on set, I think, and it really shows because the filmmaking is so well done and the acting is so real. I know a lot of people criticize the mom's acting in this movie, but I think it's intentional. And I think it's well done for like a mother in distress, and it's pretty this movie's pretty fucked up. It's pretty terrifying. It's not like modern horror movies where it's like in your face and like a bunch of blood and gore, but it's like really good psychological, like supernatural horror that's really left up to interpretation. By like the end of the movie, you don't even know if there's really ghosts or not. Of course, the sequel gives a firm stance on that, which I'm a fan of, but I'm not a fan of. But as just this movie alone, it's really good at like terrifying you, but never explaining anything. And I always love when movies do that.
I think it's executed perfectly here. What's cool is like a big difference between the book and the film is that like in the book it's pretty explicit that it is supernatural what's going on.
And that's why we haven't mentioned Stephen King hates this movie. I think I know he likes it a little bit more now because of Doctor Sleep for some reason, but like he hated this movie for like 40 years.
Yes, he despised this movie because it didn't match his vision and it didn't match his story as well.
Which is fine. But it's kind of egotistical of him not to at least admit that it's a good movie on its own. He's just like, it isn't what I made, and so I hate it.
I can understand his frustration. Like, it's fine to be frustrated that it didn't match your story because it is his story. But like, at the same time, like, it definitely deserves respect as what it is, as like a masterpiece of cinema. Like in its own medium, it is incredible, and like there's no denying that because of how great this movie was. And yeah, to touch on briefly what you were talking about, the whole Shelley Duvall thing, because I've seen a lot of like documentaries about it, and like Stanley Kubrick was borderline, if not actually abusive towards Shelley Duvall, which is not okay at all. And it's a really messed up thing to think about. And like I do think that in the end, her performance is perfect in like portraying what she was supposed to, and that's what Kubrick, that was the whole point of why he did all of that. And if you watch, like, he encouraged everyone on set to be, like, cold to her, give her the cold shoulder, to not be nice. And, like, that's definitely, like, I don't condone that at all. Like, the final product of the film, I think, is absolutely amazing. And now if people have interviewed Shelley Duvall about it, and she says that, she thinks that, like, the point that they reached, like, where they wanted to get was the same, Kubrick and her, but, like, the way getting there, she didn't appreciate it all, obviously. And now she really respects him, which who knows if, like, she should. Because she was like, I really respect Stanley, and I like him a lot now, like, these years later, like, really thinking about it. And it's like, well, I don't know, it's a really, like, tough situation to talk about. But the movie itself became an incredible product. And, It was almost 2 years of production. It might have even been longer. I don't remember, but like
it was 2 years.
That's like everyone's going insane by the end of that. Like it was an insanely long amount of time for production because they had to build their own.
Oh my god!
They designed the whole hedge maze, and they had to design all these different sets, and there was just so much time.
Bro, you're gonna love this video. I just found like an image for like the video. But it's like a GIF, so like it like changes like it changes like the poster. It's really cool. But
Yep. I can't wait to see when I watch it back.
yeah, it's like the typewriter, but like the overlooks like rising out of the typewriter. It's really cool. But we haven't even mentioned the score is amazing. That opening theme is bone chilling. It's so good.
It's endearing.
Even the opening shots, which was like really like hard to do in that time because they did it like with a helicopter, didn't they? And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Everything about this movie is impressive.
It is bone chilling. From beginning to end, every moment of the film feels like it's put perfectly into place, and the pacing is also deliberate and well done. It just made every scene that goes by you like even more, and on every subsequent rewatch, you almost like this movie even more because like you notice little details that you didn't before. Because there's so many like little particular things that you can notice throughout. It's such an intricate film. I love it so much.
Yeah, this is one of those few movies that genuinely, the more I watch it, the more I find to enjoy from it. There's only a few movies that I can think of like that. Like the original Halloween is one of those. I would say that the original Alien is one of those. Even
yes,
like
The Thing.
The Thing. I haven't watched The Thing in a while since the last time we watched it. I guess a more recent one, like I guess like Infinity War is one of those movies. The more times I watch it, the more I appreciate it. But like everything about The Shining, there's not like a single thing I dislike. The only thing that's like a little weird about this movie, and I think it's just because whatever happened in the final cut, but I forgot his name. The main black guy in the film. Do you remember his name?
The character or the actor?
The character.
Halloran.
It's just his like story in this movie. Like I enjoyed it, but like it seemed like they had like this whole plot line of him like coming to like a realization and like traveling all the way to the Overlook just for him to die. And it's just like it's like I still enjoy it, but it just seems like such like, oh, he just dies, okay, and then that's just the end of it. But
yeah, the man like he literally spends a week to
yeah, like you keep like they'll randomly like come back to him like on a plane, like, oh yeah, when are we gonna get there? Like you see him like trudging through like this fucking hilly fucking snow, and then he just gets there and he just gets fucking murdered. And it's just like, okay.
And immediately gets axe murdered by a man who's gone insane. Like he was trying to be nice, and just immediately.
Yeah, because I know in the book it's like completely different because like he lives and like yeah, and like and then in Doctor Sleep he's just like a ghost, which was cool in that movie. But like in this one it just felt like
they had to play around the fact that he was supposed to be alive in Doctor Sleep, so.
Which they did very well in that movie, which we'll get to that one later if we feel like it. But yeah, we're already almost 40 minutes in, so I don't know. We'll probably save that for some other time. But absolutely love this movie. Red Rum, that whole scene, perfectly executed. Even the young child actor, he isn't bad or anything. It's very well done. The twins, like the scene of them in the hallway, it's iconic. It's amazingly well done. The music, the acting.
There's so many iconic scenes, and like every time you watch it,
pretty much
like,
every
like
scene.
I said, this little thing.
Pretty much every scene is iconic. Like that stairway scene with Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall was amazing. Jack Nicholson's acting in that scene is phenomenal. He does his character very well. And I love, I love his mannerisms and everything he says. Like, give me the bat, Wendy, and it's great. He's a
Jack Nicholson's performance is perfect. It's probably his most iconic role in like a very like jam-packed history in film. Jack Nicholson has like a giant filmography.
Well, yeah, I was meaning to ask you because Stanley Kubrick also did that one military movie. What was it called? Was it Full Metal Jacket?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that had Jack Nicholson in it, didn't it? No.
Yeah.
Did? Yeah.
He was in Full Metal Jacket, I think.
He was in some other Stanley Kubrick movie, I think, wasn't he? I feel like he was. I don't remember. But because like out of all of his movies, what is like Stanley Kubrick's worst movie? Because have you seen all of them?
list so I can make sure that I remember them all.
But like, is
we'll
this
see all the one.
like, and whatever his worst movie is, like, is it like, what is it actually bad, or is it just like the least out of the best?
Every movie that, from me thinking about it right now, all of his movies are fantastic. I mean, The Shining's one of my all-time favorites. I think 2001: A Space Odyssey is one of the best movies ever made. I love Barry Lyndon.
Bro, I haven't
Dr.
seen
Strange.
I haven't seen 2001, like the whole thing. We tried to watch it that one night at like 3 a.m., but like the whole time Mason was just like, "There's no fucking talking. It's just monkey."
He kept on talking about it. I gotta say, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Eyes Wide Shut because that's like a really weird like sexual exploration movie.
Wasn't that his last
But
movie?
it was still, yeah, that was his last movie. That was made like I think 2 years before he died or so.
Because I know
He was like 70.
he was actually died before he was like making a movie like right before he died, but like he like gave like I think he knew he was gonna die, so like he said the only person he wanted to make this film instead of him was like Steven Spielberg. I don't remember what movie it was.
Right.
I think it was AI. It was AI.
Artificial intelligence.
Yeah, because I think Steven Spielberg ended up making that.
Right.
Yeah, because he was still making movies right before he died.
That's true. I'm trying to think because like really none of his movies I would consider bad. Like none of them, and some of them are like a part of my all-time favorites.
You know, we'll check Letterboxd in a few days and you'll have a list. But
Yeah. I was actually just about to do a Letterboxd ranking of all the Kubrick films. I was thinking about it, so it's kind of funny that we're talking about this right now. It's something I plan on doing soon.
Yeah.
By the way, follow my Letterboxd at GoChico.
Yeah, maybe I'll put a link in the description. Well, also you can just look it up. But yeah.
That's true.
Every single.
I mean.
Back to this movie, just every single scene is absolutely iconic, and like they change things about the book, and like somehow like they make it better. Like in the book, and in the miniseries, which we haven't even mentioned, there was a Shining miniseries because Stephen King just hated this so much, he decided to make a shitty adaptation of it like 15 years later or whatever. That's like 5 hours long or whatever. But
It's kind of.
They cut out, like, in the original book, it was like hedge monsters instead of the hedge maze. And to me, the hedge maze is so much more terrifying than, like, shitty, like, bear hedge monsters. And
Yeah.
the hedge maze is so iconic. It was so amazing how they utilized that. And they even utilized it in Dr. Sleep, and it was kind of cool. But I love even like the shining power that was like it was so ambiguous in this movie, but it was so interesting. And of course they further explain it in Dr. Sleep, which I like what they go with that in that movie. But it doesn't really how it is in Dr. Sleep isn't really how it is in The Shining. Dr. Sleep used it much more like almost like a superpower. It was kind of weird, but
Yeah, I mean, the whole like shining like ability and all that, it's not used that much in the film. It's got some significant plot points, and I think they use it just enough. I think everything they introduce is used just enough, and all of it is just centered around. I mean, Jack Nicholson does a great job as Jack Torrance, and all of it just goes into just him going insane and his downward spiral. And as you see, he doesn't want to harm anyone. He doesn't early on like. A lot of people complain that their biggest problem with the movie is that at the beginning
he's crazy from the start. Yeah, he's crazy from the
he
start.
doesn't-
Yeah.
But when I watch it, he definitely seems that like there seems to be points where he snaps and he goes further down the rabbit hole, and maybe from the beginning he's kind of already there, but it doesn't bring it down for me. I still think that it's really well done.
From what I've always viewed it as. From what I always viewed it as that, because I haven't read the book. I mean, I have tried to. I never ended up finishing it. And I know in that book, Stephen King basically wrote in Jack Torrance as himself. And then in the movie, they completely changed that. And I think that was a big reason why I didn't like it too, because he always saw himself in Jack Torrance, and then they just kind of make him this absolute villain from the start almost. And I feel like I always say, and I saw in the movie, I never saw Jack Nicholson as like evil from the start. And obviously, he was like an alcoholic,
Right. I mean,
and he definitely abused his child, and because like he did, because like he dislocated his arm, and like there's heavy implications in this movie that once you like notice it and like look into it, it's quite amazing how well hidden it is. But there's like even hints that he sexually assaulted his child, and it's really deep cut. It's a really like something that you'll miss if you don't like intentionally look for it. And
yeah, it's a lot of dark, disturbing stuff. And for me, it's always just been.
he was never
If anything,
portrayed as like a bad guy,
excellent.
because he
Yeah,
was trying, it seemed like in the beginning, and just like over the course of the film he's just trying less and less and just kind of indulges in himself, because at the beginning he says he's not drinking, so like at least there's like an effort. So I don't think he's ever portrayed as like an asshole from the start, just a troubled
no, I
individual.
mean, it seems like he's got issues, and then Shelley or Wendy in the film is talking about like how like that time when he grabbed Danny's arm, and like all those like previous issues, and it's all like more hinted at than anything. But like, if anything, that just shows that like what we're getting into is that he is not fit to be a person to be isolated with just his family for so long.
And honestly, when you put yourself in that position, if I was alone with my family for like, I don't remember how many months exactly, it was like for almost a year, I would probably go insane.
Yeah,
I would definitely go insane too after a while.
Yes.
I mean, I know with your family probably more so, but
Oh yeah, that yeah.
if I had Wi-Fi though, it'd be
add
fine.
on like
Well, there's also
yeah,
really
I mean,
great
I guess,
symbolism. There's really great symbolism with him being a writer, and like throughout the whole course of the movie, you see him like slowly like he can't like write. He has a constant writer's block. It's like making him go insane. There's that like great scene where like he loses his shit at his wife for like interrupting him, and it's a really great scene.
yeah,
It almost comes off as improv, but
and
like it definitely wasn't. But like his downward spiral is like kind of portrayed in his writing, and like towards the end you like see what he's been writing the whole time, and it's really fucked up when you first watch it.
yeah, and then there's also that scene when like that thing happened to Danny, and then like Wendy at first thinks it was Jack, and then like there was I guess a woman in room 237.
That shit was
He goes to
fucking
check it
eerie
out.
as shit. Even before it
That was
turned
super weird when he goes to room 237. But what's crazy is that when he gets back and he's like, I didn't see anyone in there, and then she's like, well, he's not okay. We should probably leave. And then Jack freaks out on her again, and he's like, oh, and like disrupt like the only piece that I've had to be able to write. Like I can actually write here, and which makes no because he still hasn't gotten anything done, which just shows like how much of a lunatic he's becoming. And then he's like, I'm not gonna let you mess this up like you did the rest of my life, which like just it really shows like the abusive tendencies that are slipping through like with going crazy and like with everything that's going on within the narrative.
yeah, and there's
And I
that
always
there's
thought
that
that
really there's that like that scene of clarity with Jack, like when like he falls asleep and like he's screaming, and like he wakes up and like he's freaking out, and he's like almost like crying, and like he's explaining how like in his dream he like brutally murdered his family, and he's just really upfront about it, and it's really fucking creepy. And
yeah, it's absolutely crazy, and I think all of it is executed perfectly with all of that. I do know the only thing in the movie that I know that was improvised and stayed in the final cut. There could have been other things, but the only thing I know for sure, because like Stanley Kubrick was not the type of director to let improvised things stay in, was probably the most famous line in the like that bathroom scene, and then like when Jack yells, "Here's Johnny," after like breaking through the thing.
that was improvised.
It was that line was improvised when
What was he supposed to say?
It's kind of a bit of a tangent now, but another cool detail was that Jack Nicholson originally, like, he used to be a firefighter, or at least trained for it, so he was breaking all of the prop doors way too easily, so then they had to get a real door for him to break with the axe, and then when they finally got the scene where he broke through, and then, like, there was a moment when he screamed, "Here's Johnny," and it was a reference to some talk show, I don't know which one it was, but Kubrick loved it, like, when he did that, because it was so random and it just kind of fit the situation. So that ended up staying in.
Yeah, what was he supposed to say? Like, what was scripted?
I don't know the full story. Like, I don't know what he was supposed to say there. I think
I thought I
No, I
remember.
don't
I
remember.
thought I remember hearing at one point he's supposed to say like "Honey, I'm home" or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think it was something along those lines. It was supposed to be something creepy, but the "Here's Johnny" thing is so iconic. Like that's what a lot of things have like parodied over the years.
Yeah, that's what always
Um,
like when I first like initially watched it, I was like, why do you say that? His name's Jack. That doesn't make sense. But
right.
also his name is like Jack Torrance, like Jack Daniels, which isn't Kubrick's idea. That's from The Shining, but the book. But what was I gonna say? There's that great scene in the ballroom where like he talks to what's the bartender's name?
Oh, what does he call him? I forgot.
Because like it's in the same in The Shining. I mean, in
Lloyd.
Doctor Sleep, Lloyd. Lloyd, that was a great scene, and then the bathroom as well when it's like Grady, who was a previous caretaker, which that story was also fucked up. Um, I'd be
Oh
curious.
yeah, about the caretaker went crazy, killed his family, or whatever. And then later on, that guy ended up being Grady. And then it shows Jack talking to him, and he's like, "You killed your family, or whatever." And Grady's like, "You're mistaken. You've always been the caretaker. I know because I've always been here." And it's like,
Yeah, the
that
ending's
is super
also
creepy.
so
I
weird
saw it,
because like the ending is like that picture from like the 50s and like Jack's there and it's like there's no explanation and there's like so many theories on it. Um,
yeah, there's a lot of theories about like what that actually means, and there's a bunch of other like really weird moments, and like a lot of like there's so many there are actually a lot of theories about it. People have found issues like with like the geography of the
yeah, that's what I was
hotel,
gonna
like
mention.
there's
Like
like
the layout makes no sense, but it's obviously intentional because
right, yeah, like, people theorize that it was intentional to like add to like the eeriness of the hotel and make it seem like you're actually within the
it's
perspective
some.
of the
It was
people.
supposed to like come off that like it's not a natural place. Something is like wrong with this place from the start. Um,
Right, exactly, which is super cool. And like, there's countless number of theories you can find. Like I said, this is one of the most dissected movies ever.
there's so many theories
Um,
about why the hotel is that way. Like obviously there's ghosts. There's also like subtext about like Native Americans, and there's subtext. There's even subtext about like the moon landing. I guess I don't really believe that one. It seems kind of far fetched. Um, because apparently like there's like a scene with like an Apollo, like Danny's wearing like an Apollo shirt, and that's supposed to be Stanley Kubrick saying he helped fake the moon landing, which is I think that's dumb, but I don't think that was
I've never believed any of that, but
yeah, because like we did fake the moon landing, okay. Um,
yeah.
it's not like we had CGI back in the fucking 60s, uh, but and that's something like Wyatt would say. Remember Wyatt?
Oh yeah, I do remember Wyatt. He would always say weird, like crazy
Bro,
conspiracy
he
stuff
said
like that.
9/11 was an inside job, and I was like, okay. Uh,
Uh,
he was saying like there was like bombs in the buildings that the planes couldn't have ignited an explosion, and I was like, you realize there's gas and like they crashed into a building.
yeah, I mean,
What do you have
come
to
on,
go
like
on
really.
here? That guy had a lot of
Man,
weird
that's
stuff.
already good stuff.
It's I haven't. I kind of miss Wyatt, but
I did too. But I gotta say, just with The Shining, just pretty much everything I absolutely adore. I mean, the sound design is perfect. I think the visuals are so well done, and they so are interwoven into the narrative, and it's such a well written story, and it's great with atmosphere. It's terrifying. It's just everything
it's
about it.
also
I
it's
think is just
just
absolutely perfect.
it's timeless. I don't think this movie's ever gonna not be important. Obviously, I don't think like kids nowadays are really gonna appreciate this film until they're much older. But like even like I don't know if Trinity's seen it, but I know Allie watched it recently and she actually enjoyed it. So obviously, like people can still find enjoyment in this nowadays.
Yeah, and Trinity really likes it because it's just one of the most endearing movies really ever, especially in the horror genre. There's just so much to love about it, and every time I go to watch it, I get excited, and I'm like, oh, we gotta watch The Shining. Like I will watch it again and again. I don't care how many times I watch it because I literally adore the movie so much, and it's just such a influential movie, and it's so diverse, and there's so many things to love. It's just
Yeah, like
absolutely
Jack
fantastic.
Nicholson like basically became like I don't know if I'd say like a slasher icon, but he kind of like went into that kind of like slasher kind of like icon, and like he was only in one movie and he killed like two people. Um, or like only 2 people died in this movie, I think, excluding like
Yeah.
previous caretakers and like the children and stuff. But
Yeah, within the narrative of the film that is like explicitly stated, there's only 2 people that die because there's only like 4 primary characters. There's the family and then Halloran, and then there's like a few others like in the beginning, like interviewing him, and then like someone that shows up to their house before they go out there, and then there's like people in the hotel as they're like showing them around, and that's it.
yeah, and there's also like a bunch of weird stuff, even like in the tour. Like I remember like the the freezer door or whatever that he gets locked into. Like the hinges and like the locks on the door don't make sense. Like there's like locks where there doesn't need to be locks, and like it's weird. And in that scene like where he gets out, they don't show a ghost unlock it. It leaves it up that maybe he unlocked it, maybe there was a ghost, maybe there was something else. You don't really know. All you need to know is that he got out, which is really good storytelling that I wish was a lot more prevalent in like movies today. Everything needs to be explained. Nothing is left up to interpretation, which is like there's so many horror movies now that just over explain everything. Like for example, like Freddy Krueger and like Michael Myers, they got like several sequels where like they just destroy the foundation of a character that doesn't need explanation, and it's just so dumb.
Yeah, I mean the ambiguous nature amplifies it so much, and I wish that happened more often because like as you can probably judge from like a lot of like my favorite horror movies, the ones that leave things ambiguous and don't over explain and just let it like flow as what it is, I find so much better.
Yeah, like how we've discussed previously, like when you watch the original Halloween, it's so much better and so much scarier knowing that there's no explanation to why he's killing and why he is the way he is, besides that he's something else. Unlike in something like the Rob Zombie movies where it's like, oh, he came from a white trash neighborhood and he was fucked up from the beginning, and he just kind of like, I don't know, he just kind of like breaks out of like prison and just kills people. That's way less interesting, and I really don't care. It's just, you don't need to explain things when it really works better when you don't. And this film really does that well. And I feel like the sequel does too. I mean, it explains stuff, but like it's at least like stuff that like feels like right. It doesn't feel like forced. And
yeah, I mean,
I'm sure we'll talk.
It always seems in the service of being a natural continuation, and that's what I think is the.
And we'll probably talk about Doctor Sleep another time, but I really enjoyed that movie too, especially the director's cut. And it's still like I still kind of view The Shining as a one-off, and if I ever feel like watching a continuation, I'll watch Doctor Sleep. I never needed Doctor Sleep. I don't know how the book is. I don't know if you read the book. I don't know if the book's actually good.
I've read Doctor Sleep. I think actually with Doctor Sleep, I actually probably prefer the book a little to the movie, which is like the inverse of The Shining. Because I do enjoy Doctor Sleep a lot. I think it does have issues, but I still think it is really good.
It's probably the best sequel we could have gotten, and I enjoy it for that.
It was the best way to. I mean, my biggest issue with Doctor Sleep is that like the final act really is just like, oh, by the way, this is a sequel to The Shining. You like The Shining? Well, here's The Shining again. Which
cool.
Is like, it's fine.
It's cool, but like the first 2/3 of that movie were way more interesting, which speaks to how good that film script was.
Just kind of haunts the narrative just a little bit, but
yeah.
Which is also kind of a funny detail because in the book of The Shining, the hotel burns down, and that's how Jack dies, because he dies in the hotel as it's burning down. And in Doctor Sleep, they return to the hotel and it burns down.
Yeah, they have the son do it. Because like I think in Doctor Sleep, the book, like the final act just takes place on like the area where the hotel used to be, which sounds kind of boring. For like a final act, just like a empty plot of land, but also I think in the book, which I heard slight spoilers, that like in the ending, Jack's ghost like shows up and like kills the antagonist of Doctor Sleep, and I was like, what? Something like that, which is very weird.
Yeah, the book is really weird. It's kind of, it definitely feels like Stephen King, though. I think it's a really good book.
Yeah, I mean,
it was written like nearly 40 years after The Shining, so.
Yeah, when I first heard about it, I was like, wait, a Shining sequel? Why is it called Doctor Sleep? That's kind of a weird name. Obviously, it gets explained in the book, and in the movie.
Right.
Which, it's a shame that The Shining was so poorly received, and it also, I think, it flopped at the box office when it came out. Same with Doctor Sleep.
Yeah, that's something.
Doctor Sleep got good reviews. Doctor Sleep got really good reviews, but it flopped too. It's weird.
Yeah, that's something I didn't really talk about because originally when The Shining was released, reviews were mixed to very bad. Like,
which was the same for like Halloween and The Thing. It's so weird.
Yeah, and like now, if you look at all the modern reviews, it's just all praise, and people consider it some of the greatest stuff like ever. I mean, especially with The Shining, because like it was like nominated and actually won two Golden Raspberry Awards like back in like the very early like eras of the Razzies for worst director Stanley Kubrick and worst actress in Shelley Duvall, which is like ridiculous.
Yeah, people hated this movie. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, they hated it so. And King hated it, but now, like as the years have gone on, it's gradually become one of the biggest horror movies ever, and people appreciate it for something so incredible and so well done.
This is just me. Like I get that people have opinions, but if somebody tells me they have like significant problems and dislike The Shining, I immediately devalue their opinion by a lot. That's just me. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like. I don't really get it because the way The Shining affected me every time that I watch it, if other people like say differently, it's just hard for me to believe that. Like I don't understand. Like I know everyone has their own experiences. It's just hard for me to believe because it's such an impactful movie for me. Like I just think it's so.
Yeah, even younger, I didn't really understand everything in the movie, just because there's a lot to unpack and there's not really a lot of explanation. But like even when you're younger and you watch it and you don't understand everything, there's just something so enticing about it. And brings you back to it every so often. And I will probably watch this movie fairly frequently, like the rest of my life. I don't see myself never not watching this movie, or at least having it around.
I've already seen it. I've already watched it twice this year, and I saw it like multiple times in 2020 because like with all the lockdown and all that, the isolation.
It was a good movie for that. Yeah. I know we watched it together somewhat recently, I think, before I left. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah. We watched it with Tommy.
Yeah, I think we watched Doctor Sleep too. Yeah, we did. And then, yeah, like the last week we were there, like I guess Tommy was like, let's just watch Jurassic Park for some reason, but.
Yeah, that was really weird. Jurassic Park is another pretty good movie. But that was a really weird.
That's another movie. That's another movie I forgot to bring up. That's a movie that gets better each time I watch it. But we'll talk about that later, probably.
Another cool production like detail / story that I kind of wanted to share is about the actor who played Danny Torrance, the little kid at the time. And like while they were filming, the kid actually didn't know he was filming a horror movie. He just thought like it was like a regular drama movie. He didn't know it was supposed to be scary.
Oh fuck, he didn't know?
Yeah, he didn't know it was a horror movie. So like a lot of like the scenes were like
the girls are dead. She's like dead girls.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a lot of scenes like they didn't have them on like.
We haven't even brought up those terrific like one shots of like him on his little trike going through the hallways.
Oh yeah, those are incredible. Like with great sound design as he hits the car.
Yeah, he goes on like the rugs to like the wood and like the different hallways. It's just amazing.
It's just fantastic, and like yeah, it's just really cool because the kid didn't know for a long time, and like he didn't watch the movie till much later on. They made a heavily edited version for him to watch when he was that young, and like it was nearly like 20 years later when he watched the actual unedited film, and like he realized what like the movie actually was, and like it really freaked him out because he didn't realize like at all.
Yeah,
and like Stanley,
that was like the only thing he was in, wasn't he?
What was that?
That was like the only thing that kid acted in, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was pretty much only in The Shining, and then he had a cameo in Doctor Sleep.
Yeah, which was cool. It was kind of similar to Newt and Aliens, because like she was in that movie, but she was like so terrified of being in Aliens, she just never acted again.
Right. Yeah.
Which I guess is sad, but like it's also like yeah, I mean if they don't want to act, that's fine. But yeah.
Yeah. There's stuff like that happens all the time, at least from what I know about. But I think that that's absolutely crazy. If you watch like old videos like of production, like Stanley Kubrick is very protective over the kid who played Danny. He's like very nice to him the entire time, and it's kind of like a disturbing like inverse to how he treated Shelley Duvall because of like how he tried to get that
Yeah,
performance out of her.
Stanley Kubrick's a weird guy. He was a weird guy. He knew what he was doing though.
Yeah,
So he made some
I mean
classics.
he made amazing films, like absolutely incredible films. Like
He was a very
I'm
particular.
I'm working on my top 100 favorite movies of all time right now for a Letterboxd list actually, and like I think like 3 or 4 of his movies are already like on there. So yeah, like it's amazing.
Yeah, there's only very few type of directors like him. I can't really name many directors like on his level that are really around anymore. Um,
Right, especially just like the diversity of like the genres and like everything that he was able to do, like the number of films and the like it's amazing actually.
yeah, and I don't know what enticed him to make this movie because I don't think he was a fan of the book, really. And
Yeah, I don't know that part. I mean,
I
I
guess
know
he
that
just had his own ideas.
the movie came out like 3 years after the book.
Yeah, because I think this was similar to Jaws, where it was like they made like a deal to make the movie like before the book was even like released. And,
Yeah,
which is always weird because like they don't know the book's gonna be good or not. They're just like, yeah, this is gonna be good. We'll just make a movie out of it. Yeah, let's just bring in like Steven Spielberg to make it. Yeah, it's whatever. Um,
it works.
but yeah, um, this is definitely a
And
10
like
out of 10.
yeah,
Recommend it.
easy 10 out of 10 for me. Like I've said, I mean, I've just kind of gushed over it, and I really can't think of many flaws. I mean,
The only flaw
some
that
people
I
point
can
out like Shelley Duvall's performance as a main flaw, but like I really
those are
don't
like
think.
the
I think
only
she did just fine.
flaws that I could see people having that I can at least understand on some level. Is that some of the acting can seem a little over the top, but I think that's what it was made to be. So I feel like in that way it was executed excellently. I don't think any of the characters make dumb decisions in this movie, um, especially the mom. I think she made a lot of good decisions actually. She just really was holding out for her husband, which is a very natural thing to do in that situation. Um,
Yeah, she was almost too loyal, but it's perfectly understandable.
like that scene
the
where like she's like
characters.
explaining that like, he just like tugged at his arm. It's like it's just something you do for your kid 100 times. The fact that she was like humanizing and like giving an explanation for like physical abuse of a child was just it's a heartbreaking thing to see, but it's actually very common in abusive
Right.
relationships. So if you really don't like that scene, it's really just that's just how it is in some households. That's how some people are, um, and that's kind of like what her character arc is in the film is to see her husband for who he really is, and take her kid away from that, which is a pretty powerful, pretty good message for getting out of toxic relationships when it comes to marriage, and I really like that. And in the film, the Overlook itself is a character, which it's literally just a building. Um, the Overlook has like a character and like presence to it, and it's amazingly executed and portrayed. Um,
Yeah, it's such a cool thing, and like one kind of weird thing is that there isn't really one location that can be like, oh, the Overlook Hotel, because
it
the
was
hotel
filmed
that
several
inspired Stephen
places.
King.
Yeah,
What?
it was filmed like in several
Yeah.
places. I would love to visit the hotel that like it was mainly filmed at, because I like the one where like the hallways were and stuff. That'd be pretty cool. Because I think Dead Meat did that. Because like they visited that place, didn't they? I think they did.
Yeah, they did. They did visit that, and that's when they got to watch Doctor Sleep early, and they got to
Yeah, they
meet
got.
with Mike Flanagan.
They're so fucking lucky. I swear to God. They got to like interview like Stephen King, like Mike Flanagan, and like watch Doctor Sleep like in the hotel of The Shining, and then like they interview like all the main like stars and like directors and John Carpenter and see Halloween Kills like a month early, and like they just like get to just interview Edgar Wright.
If you're interviewing John Carpenter, hate you. And if it's not me and you're interviewing John Carpenter, I hate you. I'm sorry, but it's true because no.
He's such a nice guy in that interview.
I know.
They just like ask him. They're just casually like, so like, how was it? What was your main inspiration for movies you made 40 years ago? They're like extremely like impactful, and he's just like, yeah, sure. I especially like his comment because they're like, "What do you like hearing the Halloween theme around Halloween?" He's like, "Yeah, I like the money go out my wallet." Um, Yeah.
He's like, when I hear that, I hear money. So
Yeah.
the next thing we see is that Dead Mace is gonna upload like Stanley Kubrick came back to life, and I interviewed him. What?
Yeah. Well, what is the next big horror film coming out? Scream, I guess. Also, they did like their newest Dead Meat like podcast. Like I didn't watch all of it, but it was like the Scream franchise, and they're just casually like in the Scream house.
Oh yeah, just like yeah, whatever. Like this is what we're doing.
We're actually in the exact same location.
Movie is Scream, so.
What?
Yeah, I guess the next big release in horror is probably Scream. I can't think of anything else that's coming out.
I still need to watch Scream, like the original, not Scream 2022, Scream 1996, which is what you have to say now.
Scream, right.
And then I can watch Scream 2 and 3 and 4, and then I hate myself. But what is your favorite? A brief side tangent. What's your favorite Scream sequel?
My favorite Scream sequel?
Yeah, it's like 2 or 4, isn't it? That's like most people's answers.
Well, yeah, because Scream 3 is like super bad. I guess it's kind of close. Like they are really close because they're both like not very impressive. But probably Scream 2.
It's just
Scream 4 might actually be better, but
yeah, it's just a very brief thing. I hate it when these horror sequels just like are good, and they just rush out a sequel like the year after. Like that's just gonna be good too.
Right? Yeah, it's just like okay, well, yeah, you're trying to make money, but like, come on, like let's be committed to the craft. You know, like quality should be much over quantity. I mean, that's how it should be. It's not how it is.
Like they even did it with like not good movies that were just like successful and like fans liked, like Halloween 4. They're just like, okay, let's just rush a movie in like 6 months. It'll be fine. No. And like Nightmare on Elm Street 2, like I get it has its fans, and I don't hate that movie. I think it's fine. It's one of the better Freddy sequels, which it doesn't say much. It's still not good. It's very weird. Dream Warriors was much better, because at least that had like a script that like was like written and like had like care put into it. But yeah. Let's hope Halloween Ends doesn't follow that route, but we'll see about that.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see for that.
Yeah, I guess that's filming in like next month or something, which is like interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. There's a lot of kind of crazy stuff going on, especially in the world of film. We talked a lot about Spider-Man. But
I mean, the next thing we're gonna be talking about is probably Ghostbusters in like 2 weeks, because we're not gonna have one next week.
We won't have a new episode next week. It's
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving weekend, so it's gonna be really busy. Plus Matthew's coming back into town, and he's flying in that on Wednesday anyway. So that'll be really busy. But quick conclusion on The Shining. I adore it. It's probably, if I had to like rank, it's probably my second favorite movie ever made. 10 out of 10, practically perfect. Yeah, I guess the next thing we're probably talking about is probably gonna be Ghostbusters Afterlife, because we will probably see that in between. It'll be 2 weeks from now. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm not super hyped for it. I'm definitely interested. I'm not hyped though. Yeah, I know you and Tommy are really hyped. I know you and Tommy are super hyped for it. So.
Yeah, we never said that. But it's exciting. It's just a new release. I just like movies in general, so I'm excited. It's whatever.
It seems like there's more care put in this one than whatever that fucking 2016 film was. So I'm immediately more interested than I was for that. I haven't even seen the remake. I refuse to see it.
Yeah, no, let's not talk about that.
Did you actually watch it?
What?
Did you actually watch Ghostbusters 2016?
Yes.
What would you give it out of 10?
2.
What would you give Ghostbusters 2 out of 10?
Ghostbusters 2?
Yeah.
From what I remember, it's either a 2 or 3 out of 10, because Ghostbusters 2 is terrible.
It's bad. Even when I first watched it, I was like, when I saw the first one, like, my stepdad was like, he's like, you can watch Ghostbusters 2, but I'm going to forewarn you, it's not good. And I was like, really? It's like the same cast, like the same director, like the same everything. How could they mess up a sequel? And they did. So it's hopefully this one better be better than both those movies.
The original Ghostbusters is like a 7 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10. It's a very solid like comedy.
It's
with
very
like horror
nostalgic.
elements.
It's a very nostalgic film, and like as like a comedy, it's like near perfect, like in the script, and like
It really,
it's pacing.
and it's very famous, popular for a reason. It's so iconic.
The main theme, the main song is a little, the main song has a little bit of sexual overtones. It's a little weird, but because Bustin' makes me feel good. Oh yeah, there was also that one scene where like Dan Aykroyd gets like sucked up by a ghost. Like I remember seeing that as a kid. I was like, "What the fuck is going on right now?"
Yeah, it's a lot more mature than like most people like remember. Like when they revisit it, they're like, "Wait,
He slimed me. That's great.
No, but the original Ghostbusters is a delightful, charming comedy with like some horror elements.
Also, it like it ends with like a kind of like almost like a kaiju level event with like the Marshmallow Man, and that was like amazing.
It's super cool. Like it commits to being a goofy, wacky, crazy.
It's also
movie
just
with
like it's
great
all practical. Like that marshmallow scene at the end is just like it's all practical.
Yeah, which is awesome. I mean, the original Ghostbusters, there's just so much to love about it, I think. And then Ghostbusters 2 is like a 3 out of 10 max because it still has some of the charm, but it ditched like trying to have any sort of like horror to it. So there's not much to tie the comedy to, and it was just.
Also,
it was, like, over the top.
it completely like squandered everything that first film had because like at the beginning they're like, oh, nobody cares about the Ghostbusters anymore. They didn't actually like stop ghosts. I was like, it was 4 years ago, and there was a giant fucking marshmallow man destroying New York. What do you mean people just forgot?
Yeah, it was so stupid. It didn't make any narrative sense, and it was really bad. But then the 2016 one was absolutely
Also, a quick tangent that always confused me in Ghostbusters 2. When they reopened their business, they changed their logo to like the ghost holding up like 2, and it's like, how would that make sense? You're reopening a company. It's not a sequel company. That's not a thing.
Yeah, no, it always was stupid. It's like, oh, so like it's just because it's a sequel, like that's super stupid. If they did a third one, would it be like holding up 3 fingers? Like no.
That makes sense as like for like the like marketing, but not like the movie. But yeah.
Right.
And yeah, the Ghostbusters 3 has been like in development hell for like 30 years, all because of Bill Murray. But then they made a remake after like Harold Ramis died, and that was really distasteful and terrible. So hopefully this new one's better.
Yeah, Ghostbusters 2016. I usually don't even like to talk about.
It doesn't exist.
Like,
it doesn't exist. It does not exist. It was like one of the most worst rated trailers of all time, from what I remember. And I'm proud to say I was one of the dislike.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think it's a complete failure because like there are some things to it that I guess you could be like, okay, well I guess that happened. It's fine. But overall, it just was handled so poorly, like from every aspect. As a film and as a Ghostbusters film, I think it was awful. 2 out of 10, definitely, because it's really bad.
Also, like Thor's in it.
Yeah. What?
Fucking Melissa McCarthy's in it. She's terrible, like in everything else she's been in. And why does she keep getting work? I don't remember the last movie she was good in. Was it like what, Bridesmaids maybe, which was like over 10 years ago.
Yeah, I guess maybe you can kind of consider that. Okay.
I know some people like Spy. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, actually, I think Spy is actually a pretty effective comedy, at least compared to like every other Melissa McCarthy movie. So.
Yeah, but she's also in like fucking Happy Time Murders, and that movie was fucking atrocious.
She also starred in Tammy.
You mean Tommy's mom?
No, Tammy the film.
I wonder what Tammy Hall's opinions on the film Tammy is. I don't actually wonder that. Nor do I care. But hopefully she isn't watching this.
I wouldn't expect.
Tommy doesn't watch this; he hates it. But yeah. So Ghostbusters Afterlife. Hopefully it's good. That'll be the next thing we're talking about. I don't know if we'll talk about anything else. I guess if any other big trailers come out or any big news we want to talk about, we'll talk about that. But otherwise,
yeah, we'll just have to see. I mean, yeah, I guess that's pretty much all we got. Thanks for listening.
Also, did you hear that like Home Alone got like a sequel on Disney Plus like randomly?
Yeah, that did happen.
Like I heard it was terrible, but yeah. Otherwise, what were we saying?
If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified when we upload. It's usually every Wednesday. Not next week, Thanksgiving week. It's gonna be too busy. Leave a like, comment your thoughts down below. Let us know what you want us to talk about in the future. And yeah, Matthew, you got anything else?
Shine on.
What?
I said shine on. Enjoy your day or night wherever you're at. It's currently like really dark out, but it's like that at 5, so I don't really know what night or day is anymore. So
Yeah, it gets dark at like 5 now, and I really don't like it.
well, just wait until we get to like Christmas time when it gets dark at like 4:30. But yeah, yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go watch The Shining. Do yourself a favor. But yeah, you guys have a good one. Like and subscribe, or we will stop breathing.